Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have absolute control over life's challenges, while others live in constant turmoil? Maybe you've wondered why some face problems with calmness and strategy, while others are consumed by anxiety and indecision. The truth is, we all face the same challenges. But the difference lies in how we handle them. In this video, we'll talk about 5 inevitable problems that everyone faces, regardless of age, profession, or life situation. These are recurring obstacles that affect our minds, emotions, and decisions. What separates those who are trapped by stress from those who overcome every challenge is the strategies they use to manage them. What I'm about to show you isn't just empty theory or random motivational quotes. These are practical principles drawn from psychology and Stoic philosophy, applied by highly successful people to maintain control in the face of adversity. And the best part? You can start applying them today to transform the way you deal with these problems. Throughout this video, you'll learn how to control anxiety about the future, reduce decision overload, stop worrying about other people's opinions, turn obstacles into opportunities, and overcome the fear of making the wrong decisions. And pay close attention until the end, because the last problem is the hardest of all, and very few manage to conquer it. But those who master this skill gain a level of clarity and peace of mind that most people never experience. So, if you're ready to develop a new mindset, let's dive straight into the first problem that impacts millions of people every day: anxiety about the future. Imagine you have a big decision ahead of you: changing jobs, starting a business, making an investment, or simply taking a new direction in life. The problem? You don't know what will happen. And this uncertainty triggers a whirlwind of thoughts. What if I fail? What if things go wrong? What if I regret it? This is one of the most common challenges of the human mind: anxiety about the future. We all experience this feeling. The fear of the unknown can paralyze us, keep us from making decisions, and leave us constantly worried about what might go wrong. The problem is that this worry rarely leads to concrete solutions. On the contrary, it drains our minds, saps our energy, and keeps us from focusing on the present. Most people make a fatal mistake when trying to deal with anxiety: they try to control the uncontrollable. They spend hours analyzing every possible scenario, creating contingency plans for situations that may never happen. This need to predict the future creates a vicious cycle. The more we try to control, the more anxious and frustrated we feel. But what if there were a smarter way to handle this? The wise minds of Stoic philosophy teach us a fundamental principle: divide everything that happens into 2 categories: what you can control and what you can't. It sounds simple, but most people ignore this idea. Imagine you're about to present an important project. You can control how much you prepare, how you organize your ideas, and how you practice your communication. But you can't fully control people's reactions, the questions they'll ask, or unexpected challenges that may arise. So, what makes more sense? Worrying about external, uncontrollable factors, or focusing your energy on what's within your reach? Here's a practical exercise to apply this concept to your daily life: the circle of control. Take a sheet of paper and divide it into 2 columns. In the first, write down everything you can control about a specific problem. In the second, write what is completely out of your control. Now, erase the second column from your mind and focus only on the first. This exercise works because it directs your attention to what truly matters. Worrying about what's out of your control changes nothing; it only drains your energy and time. But when you redirect your attention to concrete actions, anxiety loses its grip. Great leaders, entrepreneurs, and high-performance athletes apply this strategy daily. They don't waste time trying to predict the future; they prepare for it, focusing on what's within their control. This mindset creates a massive competitive advantage because, while most people are stuck in worry, they are taking action. Does this mean you'll never feel anxious again? Of course not. Fear of the future is part of the human condition. But the difference between those who suffer and those who thrive lies in their emotional response. Those who grasp this concept learn to accept uncertainty as part of the game and focus on what they can actually control. Now that you know how to tame anxiety about the future, let's move on to a second problem that sabotages thousands of people every day: decision overload. Overcoming anxiety about the future is a big step, but there's an even subtler problem that drains the mind without us realizing it: having too many daily decisions to make. Have you ever reached the end of the day feeling mentally exhausted, unable to make even a simple choice, like picking a movie to watch? This mental exhaustion isn't just in your head, it's a real phenomenon called decision fatigue. Every day, we make hundreds of decisions, from trivial ones, like what to wear or eat, to complex choices, like negotiating a contract or resolving a family issue. The problem is that our minds have limits. The more decisions we make, the more mentally drained we become, and this compromises our ability to make sound judgments. Many people fall into the trap of trying to make every decision on the spot, without a clear criterion. This creates an endless stream of choices that could be avoided with a structured system. To prevent this overload, wise individuals have learned to use a fundamental principle: mental shortcuts. These shortcuts function as personal principles that eliminate the need for repetitive decisions. Think of Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, or Barack Obama. They all adopted a simple strategy to reduce mental overload. They wore almost identical outfits every day. It wasn't a lack of style but a way to eliminate an unnecessary decision at the start of the day. But this goes far beyond clothing. You can apply this strategy to various aspects of life by creating clear rules that automate your decisions. For example, heavy checkmark: set a fixed time for workouts instead of deciding every day whether to go to the gym. Heavy checkmark: establish an investment criterion instead of exhaustively analyzing each case. Heavy checkmark: use a preset morning routine to eliminate choices early in the day. This may seem simple, but it has a massive impact. A study from Columbia University found that judges make much harsher decisions when they are mentally fatigued. In other words, when our minds are overloaded, we are more likely to make poor decisions, act on impulse, or procrastinate on important choices. Now think about the major decisions in your life. If you make them all at the end of the day when your mental energy is already drained, chances are your decisions won't be the best. That's why wise people reduce small decision-making burdens to preserve mental energy for truly important choices. Here's a practical exercise to apply this strategy. Create a list of personal principles for different areas of your life. Set clear rules for work, finances, health, and relationships. For example, work: always prioritize high-impact tasks before urgent ones. Finances: never spend more than 10% of my monthly income on non-essentials. Health: work out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, no matter how I feel. By doing this, you eliminate the weight of daily doubt. Instead of asking yourself, should I go to the gym today, the answer is already defined by your principle. This significantly reduces decision fatigue and allows you to save energy for what truly matters. Major entrepreneurs and world leaders use this method to ensure that their most critical decisions are made with maximum mental clarity. Now that you know how to avoid decision overload, we need to talk about an even more insidious problem: the fear of others' judgment. Making decisions more intelligently already reduces daily stress, but there's still a powerful obstacle that can hold anyone back: the fear of what others will think. How many times have you avoided doing something out of fear of others' opinions? Maybe you hesitated to express an idea, change careers, or simply act according to your own desires because of the fear of criticism. This is a universal problem. Our minds are wired to seek social acceptance because, in tribal societies, being rejected meant being alone and vulnerable. The problem is that this fear, which was once useful for survival, has now become a major enemy of personal progress. The most common mistake people make is trying to please everyone. But that's impossible. There will always be someone who disagrees, criticizes, or simply doesn't like what you do. If you live for others' approval, you end up living their lives, not your own. Wise individuals have understood a powerful concept: amor fati, which means love your fate. This doesn't mean you have to accept everything passively, but rather that you should embrace your journey without worrying about external validation. Think of some of the most successful figures in history: Einstein, Steve Jobs, Oprah Winfrey, Elon Musk. They were all harshly criticized at the beginning, but they moved forward because they knew they couldn't base their decisions on others' opinions. If they had listened to criticism, they wouldn't have gotten where they are today. But how do you apply this concept in practice? Here's a powerful exercise. Whenever you feel afraid of judgment, ask yourself, does this person pay my bills? Will they live with the consequences of my decisions? If the answer is no, then why give their opinion so much power? Also, remember an interesting fact: people are far more concerned with themselves than with you. They might comment or criticize a specific moment, but within minutes, they're back to focusing on their own problems. The fear of others' opinions is like an invisible prison. It only exists because you believe in it. Another common mistake is constantly seeking approval. Many people wait for others to validate their choices before taking action. But wise individuals know that you act first, and then people understand. At first, they might not support you, but as you move forward, your consistency speaks louder. Take the case of great athletes or entrepreneurs. Many were dismissed before achieving success, but they ignored the criticism and stayed true to what they believed in. The world respects those who act with conviction. Now that you understand how to handle the fear of judgment, we need to discuss a problem that, if not managed well, can destroy any plan: frustration with unexpected obstacles. Dealing with others' opinions is already a major step forward, but there's something that can bring anyone down, no matter how strong-willed they are: unexpected obstacles. Have you ever mapped out a perfect plan, given it your all, and still been blindsided by a problem that tore everything apart? This happens all the time, and it can be extremely frustrating. When a plan fails, the most common reaction is frustration. Why is this happening to me? Many people waste energy dwelling on what went wrong, believing life is being unfair. But here's the truth that wise individuals have learned: obstacles are not interruptions on the path, they are the path. This is one of the most powerful principles of Stoic philosophy and was immortalized in the phrase, "The obstacle is the way," popularized by Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's greatest emperors. The idea is simple: every difficulty holds a hidden opportunity, but only for those who know how to see it. Think of any successful person. None of them reached the top without facing challenges. On the contrary, it was the hard times that strengthened them and made them capable of overcoming any situation. Want a real example? Let's talk about Thomas Edison. He failed over 1,000 times before finally inventing the light bulb. If he had given up on the 100th attempt, his name wouldn't be remembered today. But he had a different mindset: each failure was a lesson. He didn't see obstacles as barriers but as stepping stones to success. Now, think about the challenges you're facing today. It could be a project that didn't go as planned, an investment that didn't pay off, or even a life change that feels like a setback. But what if, instead of resisting these obstacles, you started asking yourself what you can learn from them? Here's a practical exercise to shift your mindset about problems. Every time an obstacle arises, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can I use this to my advantage?" This simple shift in perspective can transform the way you handle any difficulty. Another crucial point is understanding that resisting the problem only makes it worse. The more you fight reality, the more you suffer. Accepting that obstacles are part of the process is one of the greatest signs of emotional intelligence. Many times, what seems like a failure in the short term turns out to be a great lesson in the future. If you look back, you'll likely see tough moments that seemed disastrous at the time but now make perfect sense. Does this mean you should simply accept everything and not react? Of course not. The point is to use obstacles as fuel to keep moving forward, rather than seeing them as permanent roadblocks. Now that you know how to turn challenges into opportunities, it's time to talk about the most difficult problem of all, one that stops many people from progressing in life: the fear of making the wrong decision. If there's one thing more paralyzing than any external obstacle, it's the internal fear of making the wrong choice. Have you ever been stuck in front of an important decision, analyzing all the possibilities, and in the end, made no decision at all? This is more common than it seems, and if not managed well, it can lead to decision paralysis. This hesitation happens because we want absolute certainty that we're choosing the right path. But here's the reality: absolute certainty does not exist. No decision comes with a guaranteed success rate. The problem is that by waiting for certainty, many people end up choosing nothing, and miss out on valuable opportunities simply because they stood still. Wise individuals have understood a fundamental truth: not making a decision is already a decision, and usually the worst one. If you don't act, the world acts for you. Other people make choices on your behalf, circumstances change, and you become just a spectator in your own life. So, how do you overcome this fear? This is where one of the most powerful concepts of Stoic philosophy comes in: memento mori, which means, remember that you will die. It might sound like a dark thought, but in reality, it's liberating. When you remember the brevity of life, you realize that delaying decisions out of fear of failure makes no sense. The biggest mistake, in fact, is not living fully because you're afraid to take risks. Think about the biggest moments in your life so far. How many of them happened because you made a decision, even without absolute certainty? If you had never made certain choices, you probably wouldn't have had incredible experiences, met important people, or achieved your greatest accomplishments. Here's a practical exercise to deal with this fear: the worst case versus best case scenario technique. Whenever you're facing a difficult decision, ask yourself, heavy check mark, what is the worst possible scenario? Is it truly catastrophic, or just uncomfortable? Heavy check mark, what is the best possible scenario? What positive things could happen if I take action? Heavy check mark, if I don't decide anything, where will I be a year from now? This exercise works because it puts the decision in perspective. Most of the time, we realize that the worst case scenario isn't as bad as we imagined, while the best case scenario could be life-changing. And most importantly, we understand that standing still is rarely the best choice. This doesn't mean you should act impulsively or without reflection. But it does mean you should learn to make decisions consciously and strategically, without letting fear control you. The great truth is that mistakes are part of the learning process. The most successful people in the world aren't those who never make mistakes, they're the ones who make mistakes, learn quickly, and keep moving forward. Now that you know how to overcome the fear of making the wrong decisions, we've reached the final moment of this video. But before we wrap up, there's one last essential message that can transform the way you approach life's challenges. Throughout this video, we explored 5 of the biggest challenges that everyone faces, but only the wise know how to manage. Anxiety about the future, decision overload, fear of others' judgment, frustration with unexpected obstacles, and the fear of making the wrong choice. These problems are universal. They affect entrepreneurs, high-performance professionals, and anyone striving for personal growth. But now, you have practical strategies to deal with each of them. You've learned to focus on what you can control, create mental shortcuts to avoid decision fatigue, free yourself from the need for approval, turn obstacles into opportunities, and take action without fearing uncertainty. But here's the most important part: knowing isn't enough, you need to apply it. No change happens through knowledge alone. What separates ordinary people from the wise is the ability to put what they've learned into practice. So, which of these 5 challenges affects you the most today? I want to hear from you in the comments. Pick one and tell me how you plan to apply the strategies we discussed here. If this video helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And if you want to keep learning strategies to develop emotional intelligence and make clearer decisions, there's another video on this channel that you'll like. Just click the link on the screen. Finally, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment now to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss out on future content that could make all the difference in your journey. Life isn't about avoiding problems, it's about learning to grow through them. And now, you're more prepared than ever to do just that. See you in the next video.